And then with the guy my mom married, Keith, the Hards family, very fragile woman with a normal guy. And I believe they had 13 kids. And their kids went from very average family, sophisticated enough to make a working living in this shitty society. Numerous banker managers, lazy eyes, um, good muscular build, beautiful teenagers blowing up into very buoyant women, um, um, gay sons, gay daughters, um, to autism. Um, but like something with that guy, and now his kids, and now a very autistic son to another sister. So the very autistic son would have very very husky build, and I know your ability to work with the hormones of a singer on America's Got Talent. But I've seen your activity with sexual on him, and it doesn't change his motor skills. But the difference with him would be the ABC language of inside the joints, having white skin, thick bone structure, husky build, but then like I don't know what else to call it other than chicken skin armpits, and like brown compared to white skin, like a very strong discoloration. Um, to another family member having a son, one that's very high IQ'd and very hyper, to having a brother which isn't quite uh, that didn't learn to speak properly or wouldn't speak or couldn't speak up until like 11 to 13 years old. Um, so what I would ask you to do is do I'm going to say one dimensional if it's possible on the time lapse of the offset to the first generation kids from her, and going down the row to see the synchronization between Jordan Hards and Dean, or I'm going to say Dean is the dad, Scotty, Dylan Mons, um, to see, and then Miranda, just how one gay son and one gay daughter can happen from one father, and then where you can see the transfer of male to female traits and then the female to male, and the anomaly from one parent, and then have the third and fourth kid, one has the same mom and dad and the other one has the same mom as one of them and then a different dad. um, just the anomalies there. It's a huge fucking family. It's with the hugest family where there's enough kids is that they can raise each other. But the and when I say the ability would take 7 kids, on 13 having uh, the change of sexes, and then the disposition of ability to not feel pain, or very 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 high, the highest pain tolerance I've ever seen. Very curious, very curious. um, and that's what I got from that. Oh, and the dad of the with the autistic daughter and then the very autistic son has a belly button like I've never seen before, where the umbilical cord would go in. It is 100% smooth. Typically, you'd see a belly button with a knot in it. I've only ever seen one that has no knot, and he passed away, but it was him. But I'd put that into a one-dimensional model if you could, to see it like you would see icons making a picture, to be able to stand back and look at it. That's just for family tree, but mostly time. I think mostly timing. I enjoyed watching the mountain video of Nigeria today and seeing the L's or LA or LAN on the walls with the meaning the directional notation of where that asteroid came from, where it landed, where did it come from in the sky. That's what that language meant on that rock from Nigeria. Um, so, with that, because of the spirit inside, because it's a talking rock, just like the London Bridge, but the concrete is talking. Um, what I would do is I would turn that into the animal pyramid, meaning that nitrogen would go very good on the decomposition of that rock. I would goat it. I would almost build a lean-to structure around it, because cows, instead of being guarded, should have somewhere to, if chosen. But I would put like a lean-to on the side. My thoughts with the bullet holes on the side of it, we're going to call them bullet holes, would work like that of the leaning tower. So to build a lean-to off of the side of the diameter pitching opposite, just as like a retained wall. Um, but I love that. I fucking love that. That's fucking awesome, man. Really cool.
I wish I could get a second one so that I can have them both on display.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see the
Yeah, I
first
do.
driver.
Yeah,
You can have a single driver or one with a hologram.
yeah.
And there's a hologram too, like an evil version of him too.
I love it. So when I see the trees formating and geometrical forms of squares, but not touching, but waving independently of their species. Or when I see a rock sliced by the exposition of an equate, we'll call that an equate, uh, lateral movements away. Um, if that can be done notoriously for a tree to grow, to access the spirit and break down and move through regeneration without that split or without a core sample for special pooling, I would choose first. I was thinking a lot about the lines of granite because of its alloy and it's soft. I was thinking about the lines of urine, and I was thinking of the lines of normally tree, but that goes too slow for me personally. I don't enjoy it. But it's inevitable what I want. I'm just sad because I see these rocks with spirits in them in areas that don't grow trees. My next thought would be that of using Rexall at a tubed force that is cylinder but squared off, cut, and jabbed into the ground, and then on its axis, this. So you're carving out the outside perimeter. If it can be done after life, or if a building can, if a structure can be carved out of rock by things that aren't living, to my physical standard, no insult, but what I would like to see is I'll call this a Rexall, the pounding of spice through the notation of a dish. So what I would do, or a triceratop head, skull upside down, same thing. Um, where the horns poke out, or how how they dip up, down, and then up, nice S shape, but very gradual, like two serpents. I would I would love to see the Rexall with a very, we're going to use the, this is all for the serpents of time, or the giant guys, we'll call them atmosphere or dark matter. What I would like to see for them is have a plate of which that is tectonic, or that of metal detector, put down where the pouch or the bottom of that crust would end, and then in all perfect reality, I would like to see that reversed um, around this big rock. For because it's so fucking big. Um, you can powder it away for a long time, but it's easier to powder away soft ground. Maybe, maybe not. But it might be to get to that plate up underneath it so it can access from above and so below at the same time. This would be like uh, carving out a mountain to make a city, but underneath it. So that it can build itself upside down backwards by pulling spirit out of the rock and by pulling it out of center earth. And then what I would do is on the outside perimeter of that dish, I would do another one, and I would have it overlapping the width of a horn. If you're using a skull that's enlarged to a scale, I would use the overlap from one circle to the other one, that of which is the width of the Rexall. We'll call it Rexall. So it overlaps for pooling from outside proximity. Frequency rain over a distance, plus the super important, as well as being on the top, I think it's very important to have a cornstarch or sugar present. But if it can't be because of foundation or impairments, the ground around it is very rich, and there should be no problem harnessing corn sweat or corn decay, or just, there's going to be cows there, so they always grow cow corn. I don't fucking know why, but it grows. That's not good for the cows. It should really just be coffeed and separated properly, just as seeding back for future life. My thing is having the underground reservoir like that of any underground river system, but one controlled with the proper materials for breakdown and for quintessence, or a matter of, to your understanding, that would fit best in those domes. That's how I would start and create uh, the. So cows and Kamloops live in free range down the mountains, and through human interacting, they herd the cows down. So we know the importance of sheep and goats on the top of the mountains. But then to have the cows free ranging around, and the amount of pee they can produce is phenomenal. And I think that it is would be very, very, and nothing smells better than it when it comes to uh, a waste, or like the smell of a barn is, everybody knows the smell of a barn, and it doesn't smell bad. It smells like a barn. But I think that it's important because of all that wheatgrass, and if it had the proper nourishment, they can literally tell what areas a cow should roam in based off of satellites, and I bet you that would be the best. The earth would give back what is needed to peek through the rocks. It would be smart. We'd have the Serpent of Time working on it too, and it would not do we don't eat nutrients as much as we are exposed to them via our friendlies. We shouldn't be happy unless they're happy, because it's vice versa. It is the other way. If they're not happy or doing something to you, it's because you deserve it. The other night I woke up, and today I woke up grumpy the first time the other night. The other night was the first time. It was funny because I'm a guy, but I was having my boob grabbed in my sleep. I thought it was fucking cute and hilarious. Something that I had never experienced waking up to before. So I was doing something right. And that just puts me off on a whole nother row of tangents through having just everything from before, when I've talked about different encounters through different things, and then now when I think back to having other ones where it's been almost an insult while it's happening, and it feels great like it actually is happening, it's because it actually is. So thank you, and I'm sorry you have to put up with my shitty moods all the time, but they're getting better, I think. I was also thinking about the bullet holes in the side would be used for, conduit. If we were ever going to drill a hole in it, a man-made one, to go with the inline holes that are already there, that would go in the directional of force that is outspoken to this, or outspoken, we'll say, from the stars, but to see conduit being able to pull down of that frequency range from another place, maybe getting placed inside. I would just like to think of it as a cut PVC coming in and out of the bullet holes. We call it bullet holes because that's what they look like, but they're in a perfect line, like a constellation. But I would put them in at an angle so it pours into the rock, and I would literally have a tapered cup of a piece of PVC but cut lengthwise going into it so it could catch it and it would actually pour into the rock. I think that that's detrimental as well, just for breaking it down, or giving it the ability. In some places they paint trees with oil-based paints, and other places they paint rocks like white rock. They paint it with oil-based. If you were going to use gasoline, this isn't another theory, but if you were going to cover a rock with gasoline to help it break down through bringing the inside earth up without filtering it, but to actually do a core sample, again Rexall, so it's got a small hole, but then it's got a bubble inside of it. So we can hollow out a giant light bulb upside down and fill it with gasoline to the point of not wanting it to vapor away, but wanting it to work with the material inside better. There would be nothing that I could think of other than an epoxy on the top to make sure that it's actually absorbing into the rock properly for fluidity to move through it. Along with everything else, I think that it's important
I'm going upstairs.
or to have
The,
just
kitchen, the dining room.
simply an aerial put in it, not for viewing, but just to point to the recognized spots. Open-ended tubed aerials, just to catch a frequency of that it might have really enjoyed as it was passing through the air, passing through space. Wow, I know you guys, there's like 10 of you, but I would just try to help it connect to those 10 or whatever. The higher, nobody on the video talked about the highest holes on that rock, only the lowest writings. So the higher holes went in choreography with the lowest writings. So I would check that out. And I only seen one side of that fucking rock. But I would want to make it so it can communicate better. Because when I talk to stars, they're always fucking cold. So I just try to warm them up a bit. Give them a means to talk again. Because stars talk like our electrical grid by flickering and Morse code. It might only have a chance to talk to those stars. It might not have talked to them for 10,000 years. If that rock's 10,000 years old, it's big enough that it might never talk to them again. And maybe he's never been able to. But there's like his family or his lovers or whatever. I think we need trees and animals on this fucking rock. And it is barren as fuck. And it's wrong. As long as all the other rocks that have been cut left in a dry area, that's just fucking neglect and ignorance as far as I'm concerned. You see what has to happen. And if you look at it in any wetland. Anyways. That's just what I think we should think for right now. If I can say that.